So I'm gonna take you back to about 3 sentences when you say you don't cry, right? But then you correct
Right,
me,
because
right?
you know I cry.
Right. So can you expound on that for a little bit? Because obviously we know each other well, and you are one of the brothers who I think you're well in tune with your emotion
Mm.
and emoting. It appears doesn't seem like it's something that you fight. How did you
Mm-mm.
get there?
Honestly, having a parent who embraced and encouraged your emotions. Yeah, I have to be very honest about that. Like, it's not anything. I am blessed to have a mother who encouraged me to communicate, right?
Right.
And it's so funny because I remember to this day when I was younger, I when I would get frustrated, like with my teachers, and the one thing that I hated is when an adult would say, I'm talking, you can't talk, like, because my mother at a certain age, not always, but at a certain age, she allowed us to have dialogue so that I could understand, she could be like, tell me what you're feeling so that we can have an understanding.
Wow.
And when any adult was trying to correct me and they would not allow me to speak, it would frustrate me because I would feel like they were robbing me of that right, So I would begin to cry because it's like, I'm trying to talk to you and communicate to you, but you're not listening, you're not allowing that natural dialogue to happen. And so I would never forget, a teacher called my mom and she said, Chaz I probably did something wrong. I can't remember. Or I'm going to be honest. And she was like, he started crying. I was telling him, and my mom explained to her, she said, and that was when I felt my mother's support. And I don't even think I ever told her this story. So thank you, Mom. But I overheard her speaking to my teacher, and she was like, yes, that's because I really practice hearing him out. Ooh. And him hearing me out, right? And so that has just followed me. That lesson has followed me throughout life.
Wow.
And so I am one where, yes, I definitely believe that crying is healthy. I believe being vulnerable in a safe space is very healthy as well. And I could definitely say that because of that learning and me practicing it more so in my brotherhoods today, it has allowed me to be who I am. And then also too, it has allowed great brotherhood to really exist. That's why y'all here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
And that actually, I don't know, that like hits close to home because once again, like I'm in like psychiatry. I went through the whole process, and like a lot of the patients that I do see, you can tell that their entire lives that they haven't been listened to. So when you do take the second to be like, hey, let's sit, let's chat, what's been going on? And then it all comes flooding out, like the tears, everything. And even being Black people, Black men, I don't think there are spaces often where we can express that. So it comes out in anger.
Right,
it comes
absolutely.
out in the easier emotions. And I don't know, it's good to kind of speak on that and hopefully kind of change the narrative and open these spaces as well. So yeah.
I love that. That's so from your, your perspective of life, like I'm sure there's so much that you could say about that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And no, I was just gonna add that the value of us three Black men sitting here from completely different walks of life, talking about crying, and no one, I don't think you're soft. I'm certain Fred is a practiced psychiatrist doesn't think you're soft. But I don't know if that narrative is out there on a macro level, which I think is interesting. What your mother gifted you reminds me of, and this is not my words, something I've either saw or read. We're saying that if you're raising a Black boy, what you want to do is love on him, and love on him to the profound point that he feels in the event he missteps or does wrong, that your disappointment becomes something that guides his action. And I'm not sure if that approach is right or wrong. Fred, you're the doctor, but I think there's a beauty on that in terms of love and loving on a Black boy as he grows, because I think it does impact the man. And you're one of my brothers that I see who emotes openly.
Mm-hmm.
And from you, I've actually learned the power of soft strength.
Mm-hmm.
And let's not even label it soft strength. Let's just
Mm-hmm.
call it strength.
Mm-hmm.
Strength through emotion.
A different definition of strength.
Correct.
Right.
And some part of me wants to tie it back to how you work and how you do work and how you collaborate. And I want to know, do you bring that in? And this is a genuine question because I don't know. Do you bring that strength into the way that you work, the projects that you take on, how you show up as a creative? How do you show up as Chaz Pringle?
Mm-hmm. So that's interesting because I'm working on a big project right now, which is a major event that will be launching next month. And someone who's new is another creative that is working with us on this project said to me, "Oh my goodness, Chaz work and Chaz outside of work are like two totally different people." Right? And of course, like there's some times where I come through, but me working, I am very much so different than I am the Chaz that's sitting right here, right?
Ooh,
and that's
okay.
really just because I lived in New York City for 11 years, right? So coming out here to LA, I'm like, okay, put my answers through a filter, and like you definitely, I find that when I'm working, I am laser focused, and there's just certain times, like especially if we're working against a deadline, I'm just like, okay, we really gotta buckle down. So I'm one that is very much so, and most of my latter career, right, I've been a manager, so I've had a team under me that I had to lead and direct. So I have a very short attention span when I understand that time is working against us in a sense. Yeah. But what I always try to lead with, of course, is understanding, right? Like life is lifing regardless on what you have going on.